I am joined by host of the Pinstripe Strong podcast, Talking Nets podcast, the late night sports talk host of WFAN, and the first ever reoccurring guest in Shadow from the Cheap Seats history, Keith Mcpherson. Keith, what's going on, man?
Yo, Jack. What's up, my guy? Jack from DC. Glad to be back as a repeat guest. Second time coming to chat with you. And I'm glad we can make the time. Obviously, I've been busy and some things have changed and some things have happened in my career and my pursuit. But you're somebody that's always supported me, Pinstripe Strong. You've called in the WFAN, and I'm glad to be back on your podcast, man.
Yeah, second time is going to be better than the first. You got a lot of hats now. Last time I spoke to you, WFAN wasn't a thing. You were just doing Talking Nets, Pinstripe Strong. Now you got the late night WFAN 5 hours, KM till AM, as you like to call it. And that's been exciting to listen to and hear all your perspectives, because we get to hear your basketball takes. We get to hear your baseball takes, but we don't always get to hear your football takes. And now we can with WFAN, and we're going to hear a little bit more because your Dallas Cowboys, Keith, have been eliminated from the playoffs. And it's unfortunate, man. It really is.
It's unfortunate because we them boys. It's unfortunate because how about them Cowboys? It's unfortunate because Dallas and Dallas fans win 12 games a season after, losing Dak, and we get Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs and CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, and it's all hype. That's all the Cowboys are. They're all hype, and they haven't won anything in years. They've had a bunch of seasons where they've won double-digit games but can't get it done in the playoffs, and everybody's right? Going into that weekend, wild card weekend, super wild card weekend, people were like, the Cowboys are always one and done. They always choke in the playoffs. Everybody was betting the Niners, and I had hoped that the Cowboys would have some type of chip on their shoulder, right? Like, we're at home. We're favored. We're not supposed to be looked at as the underdogs, but nah. Lights were too bright in Jerry world, and Jerry Jones gets what he deserves. I feel like the Cowboys actually are cursed with Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones came out and said some things after. Mike McCarthy sucks, and Dak Prescott had one of the worst games of his life in a big moment, and Cowboys fans had to eat that one. And what I'll say about that game, and hopefully we can move on because I hate talking about the Cowboys, especially after they went out like that. A lot of Cowboys fans want to blame the refs. And, even last night I was with one of my friends who, his brother is a Cowboys fan. He's a little younger than us. So, growing up with his brother, it made him a Cowboys fan. He's like almost like 8 years younger than me. I'm like, why would you be a Dallas fan? And he's like, I don't know, man. He came up during the Romo years and he thought the Cowboys were going to get it done then. And then he was talking to me last night and he's like, the refs, man, the refs always have it against us. The refs blew that game for us. And I'm like, no. Don't say that, dude. I'm like, it looks weak as a Dallas fan for you to blame the refs. The players blame the refs. McCarthy blamed the refs. The Cowboys were given 8 different chances to come back and tie that game or win that game, and they couldn't get it done. They were stunned. They looked like the deer in headlights, like paralyzed, like don't know what to do. And me as a fan of the Cowboys, I have experienced this at the end of the season most of the time, so I wasn't surprised. And as a former football player and someone who loves the game and feels like they know a little bit, more than the average person, like the X's and O's, I could see that they weren't ready for that game. They weren't prepared, and that goes against the coaching staff. The number one thing that people should know about the Dallas Cowboys is they were the most penalized team in the league, and they were the most penalized team in the first round of the playoffs. 14 penalties in that game. You shot yourselves in the foot. You can't blame the refs. Be better. Be more disciplined.
That's the only stat you really need. When you look at the Cowboys, the penalty stat, that tells the whole story. And we'll move off of it because I know it's a little bit of a sore subject for you, Keith. But are you the type of fan that after your team is eliminated, you're just completely out, or are you still locked in on the rest of the playoffs?
I would say I'm still locked in because I love football. I love the NFL. I literally said I was just on the phone with my mom. I was like, I didn't watch any football yesterday, which is crazy, but kind of had to go hang out with the New Jersey Devils, and do some cool stuff over there at the Rock. That's why I wasn't watching the games. But the Cowboys being out of it doesn't end it for me. It's history. Every year I watch the playoffs. Every year I want to see who's going to the Super Bowl. I'm riding with the Bills now. I'm hoping they win tonight. And the Cowboys being done just means I don't want to talk about the Cowboys. I hate that. I hate when the season's over and then for weeks on end, people want to talk about the last game and, well, this should have happened, or Dak shouldn't have ran it on that last play. It's like, what is the point of talking about it? What's done is done. But I did lay eyes on the first maybe hour of the Bengals-Titans game, and I knew that the Bengals were going to win that game. Obviously, Tannehill throws a pick on the first throw, the first play. That's not how you start a game. And if you listen to WFAN, which I know you did, I talked about why I think the Bills are going to win it. And I said, you need three things to win in the playoffs. You need a good coach, a good quarterback, and a good defense. If you're missing any one of those three things, you're going to get exposed. And look at the Titans, number 1 seed, most people they've ever had in that stadium for a game. And Ryan Tannehill is not a good enough quarterback. Started there. It doesn't matter if you get King Henry back. It doesn't matter if you have Julio Jones and A.J. Brown and this defense that's flying around and Mike Vrabel. Like what I say, coach, quarterback, defense. They got a good coach. They got a good defense. They held them. That was a low-scoring game. But the quarterback turning the ball over early set the tone where the Bengals knew they were in that game. And then shout out to my cousin, Evan McPherson, Money Mac. What a legend. This guy kicks them into the next round. And whenever Joe Burrow gets the ball across midfield, Evan McPherson is ready to get points for the Bengals. That's going to be huge for them.
Joe Burrow, it's so interesting to me that if you get the right quarterback, which is way easier said than done, but if you hit on a quarterback in a draft, just how quickly you can turn a franchise around. Because I mean, the Bengals went from being the laughingstock of the NFL to being a pretty bad team with a good young quarterback to being a playoff team, winning the division and making it to the AFC Championship game all within 3 years. And meanwhile, the Giants and the Jets have been just stuck in these miserable cycles. And
I'm glad you mentioned that.
It's wild to me. And I agree with you that the Bills are going to be, the Bills Kansas City game is going to be tremendous tonight, but Josh Allen is one of the best top 3 quarterback in football. They got a fantastic coach, and that defense, the Bills defense, is really strong. That interception that I think Micah Hyde had where he ran like literally 30 yards across the field to come down with it at the last second. They're flying all over the place.
Yeah. You mentioned the Jets and the Giants, and something I also talk about on the fan is like what goes around comes around, because I like to hear people's fandoms. I like to hear how people became a fan. I like to hear, I've been rooting for this team X amount of years. I'm never going to change, because that's how I look at sports. That's how I got into sports. I picked some teams when I was a kid. I stayed with them. I've gone through the misery, but you go through that misery, right? Like Cubs fans. Cubs fans had to wait 108 years for their World Series. They were the lovable losers, but they always had fans at those games. Their fans showed up during day games when they didn't have night games, and they drank and they yelled and they cheered for the Cubs, and they finally figured it out in 2016, but it was like it was never going to happen. Teams like the Jets and the Giants and even the Cowboys, right? I feel like they're cursed. I feel like they can't get out of their own way. I feel like it isn't going to come around from them because they're so far gone. But everything takes time, because new GMs come in and new coaches come in and new players come in, and anyone can figure it out. We're looking at the Bengals and the Bills. If we get the Bengals and the Bills in the AFC Championship, that's 2 teams that were bottom feeders for years. That's 2 teams that were the laughingstocks of the league in the AFC for years. I'm talking brown paper bags over their fans' heads. Nobody wanted to root for the Bills. Nobody wanted to root for the Bengals outside of their market area. And now you're going to see kids wearing Joe Burrow jerseys. You already see kids wearing Josh Allen jerseys that aren't living in Buffalo and aren't living in Cincinnati. So I really do hope that the Bills do it today, because I think it's a better story. And when I'm talking about what goes around comes around, the Chiefs have been to back-to-back Super Bowls. We don't need to see Pat Mahomes in a third Super Bowl. We also don't need to see Tom Brady in another Super Bowl. Let these other franchises and players get a chance to get there, and let us see what happens. I really feel like, and I've said this on the radio too, I really feel like this is the year we see a team win it that hasn't won it before. And right now, the Bills and Bengals have a good chance of bringing home the first Vince Lombardi trophy for their franchise.
I really hope so. I think the Bengals can shock a lot of people. They've done it all season long. I've been rocking with the Bengals and Burrow all season long, and I would not be surprised if they can make a run to the Super Bowl here, because when you got an elite quarterback and a good head coach, the rest just falls into place. And that's why, as a sports fan, and maybe you're listening to this and you're a fan of the Jets, or you're a fan of the Giants, or you're a fan of the Washington football team, all you have as a fan is hope. That's all you have. And as a Giants fan, to know that, okay, we have this new guy coming in, Joe Shane, there's a chance Giants fans are hoping that he's the guy. And if he's the guy and we hire a good head coach, things can turn around really quickly. And I'm just excited to see progress. I want to see that progress, and just eager for the Giants to turn things around. It's been too long.
For the Giants fans listening, here's a rooting tip or a rooting interest. Root for the Bills. You now have their assistant GM on the way to being your GM. Wouldn't it be cool if he walks in with a Super Bowl ring? Wouldn't it be cool if your new GM, Joe Shane, is a Super Bowl winner? He's already got respect. But a ring would give him another level of respect and like a higher pedigree. Here's something for the Jets fans. Root for the Bengals. Mike White and the Jets beat the Bengals this year. So if they go on and win the Super Bowl, Jets fans forever can say, we beat the Super Bowl champs that year.
They can't say that. And I know you said you didn't watch much football yesterday, but were you able to catch some of the Packers 49ers game? Because we're talking about the Cowboys choking.
10-15% of it. I was in the BMW M Lounge, and they had obviously the Devils game on the TV, but they also had other games on, basketball, football, and I was able to get an eye on the game. It was 7-0, then it was 7-3, then it was 10-3, and then next thing I know, it was tied 10-10, and then I'm in the car listening on the radio, and I don't know how I didn't watch them blow this game. I just knew where the score was. I don't know how the Packers lost this game. I don't know how they fumbled that one. Both number one seeds knocked out at home. And Aaron Rodgers, I love that he's done. I hope he's done with the Packers. I hope he's done with the NFL. I know he's not done with the NFL. He's definitely not going to go out like that. That won't be his last game. But I hate Aaron Rodgers. Not just for the lying about being vaccinated and people allowing him to push back on the vaccine, push back on the president, say all of these things on Pat McAfee's show, and just carry himself in this arrogant way as if he's just above everyone. This dude went to Hawaii in the offseason. He didn't even train in the offseason. He just waltzed in there talking about, oh, this is the last dance. We're going to go win it this year. Nah. I'm glad Aaron Rodgers comes up short again. I hope he never gets to another Super Bowl. Yes, I am a salty Cowboys fan from 2016, where he threw that ball to Jarrett Jack, and then Mason Crosby kicked the field goal to win it in Jerry World. And I'm forever tight about Des Bryant catching the ball and them saying he didn't catch it, and Aaron Rodgers beating the Cowboys then. But I think the 49ers have hit their stride right now, and they have the right mentality. They're reminding me of, as a 10-7 team entering, they're reminding me of, like the Giants when they made their 9-7 runs. Underdogs in both the division round and wild card round, and a team that lost some games during the season, but it's still a good team. And now it's about who gets hot in January, who gets hot going into February. And the 49ers are hot. They've got a good coach. They've got a good enough quarterback, and they've got a great defense. And you can't say enough about their weapons on offense. They drafted Elijah Mitchell in the 6th round. Kid went to Louisiana Lafayette or something, and he's better than Ezekiel Elliott was this year. And then they have George Kittle, who is an absolute beast of a monster, of all kinds of monsters you've ever seen. Put George Kittle up there. And then Deebo Samuel. Someone called him the Shohei Ohtani of the NFL. I get it. It's a little bit of a stretch, but I get it because Deebo will line up as a running back, as a wide receiver. I'm sure he'd line up at tight end if they let him. He's also played quarterback this year and taken direct snaps, and he is a weapon and a beast. And just with those guys alone, you sprinkle in Brandon Ayuk and Jennings, and I'll put some respect on Jimmy Garoppolo's name. He's good enough. You know, I said you need a good quarterback. You don't need a great quarterback. The quarterback's just got to be good enough. You got to make enough throws. You got to manage the game, not throw it away. The Niners were in the Super Bowl a few years ago, 2 years ago, and lost to Tom Brady. And I think they've got a good shot at going right back.
It was a really interesting game because the entire first half, I mean, you would have thought that the Packers.
Oh, no, they lost to Pat Mahomes. Why would I say Tom Brady? I think they're about to face Tom Brady next
Tom
week.
Brady, I think.
But they lost in the Super Bowl to Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, but the entire first half, it was bizarre. The Shanahan and the 49ers did not let Garoppolo throw the ball past the hash marks. He was just managing the game, dumping the ball off to Elijah Mitchell, running Elijah Mitchell into the ground. And it was a game that the Packers should have been up 2.5 scores by the end of the first half. And Jimmy G got away with a lot of bad passes. He floated a lot of screen passes that like 2 in a row.
He always misses. He throws picks. Did he have a pick yesterday? He's always good for a miss and a pick. He's always good for a miss and a pick. And somehow that defense and that running game and the coaches, Kyle Shanahan, DeMeco Ryans, they bail him out.
They bail him out, and you got to give credit to that defense. Nick Bosa is a maniac. I feel like I should be giving the 49ers more credit, but I don't know. I don't trust Garoppolo. I feel like in the end, in a crucial spot in the championship game or the Super Bowl, he's going to end up throwing an interception or making a mistake because 9 out of 10 times, you know, the defense isn't going to drop that duck that he throws that, I mean, went right through the Packers defender's hands. So,
and
I mean,
the 49ers,
it's going to be interesting to see if anyone can get it done. It's the 49ers because their defense is elite, but I can't trust
the 49ers know who Jimmy Garoppolo is better than anyone. That's why they drafted Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Imagine if they drafted Micah Parsons or Jamar Chase or, you know what I'm saying? Like, they used that pick to draft a quarterback. You already had one with a big contract that had been to a Super Bowl. You drafted Trey Lance because you don't believe in Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, you know, the 49ers are a very, very sound organization. They got a good process. They're one of the teams that no matter how many injuries they have, or maybe they're having a down year, they always find a way in it. They're always competitive in games. So you got to trust what they do. They have the benefit of the doubt. And another quarterback that has the benefit of the doubt, Tom Brady and his Buccaneers, Keith, facing off later today against the Los Angeles Rams in what's going to be an interesting game because I don't know if the Rams we saw last week are the real Rams team. They've been really inconsistent throughout the season.
Cardinals are ass. The Cardinals are not good.
They didn't show up at all.
The Cardinals gave that game to them. Like Kyler Murray, I don't know what he was thinking when he almost got sacked in the end zone and he did that underhand throw that got pick 6. I'm like, that is the worst quarterback play in the NFL playoffs history. That's the worst play. It's like self-sabotage. Like, what was he thinking? The Cardinals fell all the way off this year. And the Rams, what I'll say about the Rams is this, and I've said this a bunch. They put together this super team, right? The Rams were in the Super Bowl in 2018, right? They were just in the Super Bowl. And They go and get Matt Stafford. Then they go and get Von Miller. They go and get OBJ. They signed Eric Weddle after he hasn't played since before the pandemic. They have a bunch of names next to Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, who they went to get a couple of years ago, Sony Michel, who they traded for. Like, they went and got all the pieces to go and win a Super Bowl. Now, I don't think they have that much faith in Stafford because he's a turnover machine. He throws picks. Last game, they kept his attempts low. I think what was he, 13 for 17 last game or something like that?
He threw like 17 passes.
It was very low. That is on purpose. In a game that they controlled, your quarterback that you traded your first round pick for is only going to attempt 17 passes. I used to attempt 17 passes in high school games. This is the NFL. They know what they have and what they have to do. And against Tom Brady, I just think this group that has played together now, some of them not a full season. OBJ's been there like 7 weeks. Von Miller's been there maybe 10 weeks. Eric Weddle just got there last week. It's too disconnected. And there's not enough experience to draw from. There's not enough reps together that when you get into these playoff games, you need. Tom Brady, don't bet against Tom Brady. I learned that years ago. Tom Brady, this shit is regular for Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady doesn't care if it's Cyril Grayson or if it's Antonio Brown or if it's Troy Brown, Wes Welker. He doesn't care. He's going to find the open receiver and hit him. And then they have playoff Lenny coming back today. Leonard Fournette gives them an extra punch. Mm-hmm. We saw Giovanni Bernard, former Bengal. We saw Giovanni Bernard starting for them, getting all the reps. What's his name? Keyshawn Vaughn. Now they're getting their actual running back back. I just feel like you can't bet against Tom Brady. And the Rams they're not there yet. Maybe next year if they can keep this team together. Cooper Kupp had a fantastic season this year, broke all the records. I think if they have another year like they had this year, next year they might be ready. But these are the defending champs. They just did this last year. And when you look at their defense is boss every level. You got Vita Vea, you got Ndamukong Suh, you got Devin White, you got what's his name's kid? I can't think of the name. Blanking on him. He's a junior. He's Antoine Winfield Jr. Like, they have Whitehead. They have so many guys that are like solid guys on their defense that, like, I think they'll be able to contain the Rams' explosive offense enough. I think they might even be able to force a turnover out of Matthew Stafford. And if they play that game where Stafford turns the ball over, Tom Brady will make them pay. They're going to run the football because they know they have to run the football with Aaron Donald and Von Miller up front. And then when they get them off balance a little bit, Tom Brady's going to pick them apart. And, I mean, we'll see. Sean McVay, I don't want to doubt him. He's boy wonder. He's a genius. He should have those guys ready. But in my opinion, you don't bet against Tom Brady and you don't go against experience. And these guys don't have the playoff experience together. I don't count that Cardinals game. I just look at that Cardinals game like it was a first-round bye for them.
Yeah, they breezed through that game. It was over within the first 2 possessions of the game. And we have a saying on this podcast. It's called, don't bet against Belichick and don't bet against Brady, because people have learned the hard way too many times betting against Tom Brady. The man, he's just a winner. He hates to lose more than maybe any other athlete in history.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a fun one. I think Stafford's going to be due for a turnover or 2 because they got to run the ball, but eventually they're going to have to push it downfield. You're not going to beat the Bucs by shutting out Tom Brady, you know.
And what I'll say about their run game, right? It's great to see Cam Akers back. Mention
FSU
him coming back. FSU, go Noles. To see him come back from an Achilles in the same season is incredible. But him and Sony Michel aren't bashers. They aren't power backs. They aren't big guys. They're shaky guys, shifty guys. Like, they need to get in the open field. It's going to come down to like play calling. Expect some creative play calls, like OBJ threw one to Akers. But overall, going against that defense, They're going to have to run the ball. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball effectively. And then that's going to put pressure on Matt Stafford. And if the pressure is on Matt Stafford, he's going to turn the ball over.
100%. You're right. And you got the primetime game tonight. Chiefs, Bills. It's going to be a spectacular game. Either outcome, if you tell me the Bills crush the Chiefs in this game, I'm going to be like, yeah, you see what they did to the Patriots. But if the Chiefs win, I'm not going to be surprised either. So I'm expecting a good one.
I don't expect a blowout, but I expect points on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills beat the Chiefs 38-20 earlier in this season. The Bills are coming off a game where they were perfect on offense. And when I say perfect, I mean they didn't punt. They didn't take any field goals. They didn't turn the ball over. They had their way. They scored a touchdown on every possession. And that defense is the top-rated defense in the NFL. So you need three things in the playoffs. Sean McDermott, a good coach. Josh Allen. What did I say? I was about to say Josh McCown. I don't know. Josh Allen, who is a great quarterback, not just a good quarterback. And that Buffalo Bills defense, which is a great defense, not just a good defense. You're facing Pat Mahomes. You're facing Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. And I just spoke about experience. The Chiefs have the experience, right? They're trying to go to their third Super Bowl in a row. They're playing at home. That crowd is crazy at Arrowhead. That all helps. But we've seen the Chiefs at times this year come back to earth. We've seen the Chiefs at times this year not be as almighty as they once were. And now they're facing another heavyweight, another juggernaut. And the Buffalo Bills are rolling. And I just see the Bills coming in there and being able to run the football with Josh Allen and Devin Singletary, but then also have their way throwing the ball to Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, Dawson Knox, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley. There's a lot of options for Josh Allen. And last year, this matchup was the AFC Championship, and we saw Stephon Diggs stay on the field and watch the AFC Championship trophy be presented. Those guys remember that feeling. And in sports, you always got to take your lumps, right? They talk about Jordan. Before Jordan became great, he got beat by the Pistons. He took his lumps. He couldn't get past the Pistons. And he had to figure out how to get past the Pistons. So he worked out more. He got bigger. And they got some different guys on his team that were, more physical and whatever. The Bills are building, right? They have been slowly building to get back to a Super Bowl. And I think if they beat the Chiefs today, they're going to win the Super Bowl because the Chiefs are going to be the best competition they face the rest of the way out.
100% right. The Chiefs definitely going to be the best competition they face. And if you put pressure on Mahomes, he will turn the ball over. We've seen him at points try to do too much and throw across his body and get an interception. So it's going to be a good one, going to be exciting. Something a little less exciting. The MLB Lockout. It's gone on for what? Month and a half? I don't even know. And doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon. Where are you? Are you expecting the season to start on time? Or are you expecting to miss some games? What's your mindset at?
I expect the season to start on time because all of this is about money, and they're not going to miss out on opening day money, which is like everyone in Major League Baseball cashes out on opening day. Every stadium sells out on opening day. Where I'm at with it is that we're going to push back spring training. I'd like to go to spring training. I'm trying to book a spring training trip, so I'm going to book it the last possible week of spring training, hoping that we do get that. But I'm worried about the players. I feel like their health is at stake. The pitchers' arms are at stake because we saw this already. We literally got a glimpse into this in 2020 with the 60-game season and how long it took them to come together to figure that out. And then how they just threw the players, like the Yankees were just in summer camp and they're practicing in Yankee Stadium. I'm like, what the hell is this? Yeah, but then like it messes with the pitcher's arms, right? These guys have to ramp up. They're on training programs. They're on pitching programs. They have schedules of like, okay, this week I'm throwing 80 pitches off the mound. And then next week I can go to 100. And I'm soft tossing. I'm doing whatever. And I know that the guys are going to do that, but there is no substitute for facing live batters. There's no substitute for also the hitters facing live pitching and seeing pitches and getting their swings together and their timing together. And if you try and throw these guys out there without a proper spring training, it's going to affect the start of the season. The quality of baseball is not going to be good because half of the league plays in cold weather and these guys aren't going to be ramped up. It's probably going to be shitty quality baseball. And that's counting against the league. Like MLB has so much momentum over the last few years of what we've seen. The Braves were awesome. Their story was great to see them win it without Ronald Acuna Jr., Freddie Freeman, and those boys get it done. Soler powers them. Even the Dodgers winning it in the 60-game season. It was like, good. The Dodgers get back and do it. The Nationals, like, there's been some good stories in baseball and some momentum in baseball. It seems like baseball is doing the right things to make baseball cooler again or attract a younger audience or grow the game. But if I was a kid right now and I'd be like, I'd be wanting my baseball content, and I know there's a kid, it might be a kid listening to this podcast that loves baseball and wants to learn more about baseball in the offseason and how free agency goes and all this stuff. None of that is happening right now. We are stripped of any baseball news, and that hurts the sport. When I was a kid, NHL locked out, and I remember NHL locking out, and I didn't understand it. There are kids that don't understand why they're not doing business as usual, but what it did was it made me get more into the NBA because the NBA played at the same time as the NHL. So I'm like, if these guys aren't playing, I don't care. I'm going to focus more on the NBA and watch more NBA games and learn more about the NBA. Major League Baseball is already in third place, let's say, behind the NFL, behind the NBA, but they're going to fall. They're people forget, like, esports exist, WWE exists, MMA exists. Like, all of these things have a huge audience, and America's pastime is exactly what it is. It's past its time. It's past its time because they refuse to evolve and move into the future. They stay stuck in their ways, and you can't stay stuck in your ways. The CBA has expired. It existed for 26 years. You have to come together and figure out the future. And it's all about money. These owners and these players, it's billionaires versus millionaires. I'm not on either one of their sides. I think they are both dragging their feet. I think it's super corny how they use the media to play into this. Like, Jeff Passan will just be like, a proposal was submitted.
Yeah.
And there's a meeting for them to counter offer next Monday. It's like, bro, we don't even care. Like,
Just
hit
tell
me
us
up
when
when
it's
it's
done.
done.
Exactly. And we've just heard this movie before. We've heard about the delayed spring training and the injuries to the pitchers and the amount of times I've heard millionaires versus billionaires in the past 2 years. Like, nobody cares anymore. And I just hope the players and the owners realize, because, I mean, both sides have to realize, like, missing games is just, it's
Stupid.
terrible for baseball.
You
Like,
can't
but
have
they have
it.
to, right? Like, it's
If,
just,
if opening day doesn't happen on time, the New York Post, Daily News, New York Times, whatever, they're gonna have some type of pun like grand opening, grand closing, or like, opening day, more like closing time, like missed opening day, never thought we'd see it, but MLB drops the ball and pushes opening day back a month. It can't happen, man. And I think they're actually probably thinking, like, it can happen. Like, okay, if it happens, whatever. We'll push it back a month. We'll play in warmer weather. But we have to play 162 games.
it's just these 3 years are just going to be looked at. I mean, maybe they're going to be looked at 20 years from now just as normal seasons, but it's just been such a weird time period. And these owners just don't get it. Like, they're submitting proposals that don't even have the main issues at
They're
hand.
non-starters.
Like,
it's a
little
joke. Why
things.
even submit something? Like, I'd be offended.
Yeah.
You're wasting all of our time. I'm offended as a fan. I'm offended
too.
as a fan that talks on the fan and wants to talk baseball, but I don't want to talk about this. You see how frustrated I'm getting just talking to you about it because it's nonsense. It's
just
ridiculous.
the same speculative stuff over and over again. And I want to talk about the Yankees, and I want to talk about who they're going to sign at shortstop and if they're going to trade for Matt Olson. But
let's do that, bro. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Yankees, the only signing they made, the biggest signing they made, is a 3-year with an option for 4 contract for our manager, Aaron Boone. First question I want to ask you is, are you a Boone guy? Do you like Aaron Boone? Are you cool with that? You don't really have a choice.
I'm not really a Boone. I'm not a Boone guy. I'm not like on the fire Boone train, like the majority of Yankee fans are.
You're undecided. You're indifferent. Right now, the book is still out.
I don't think it matters that much, to be honest.
Right. And there's a lot of people that say Boone is just a puppet. Boone is just a guy doing the bidding of the front office. Here's how I feel about it. The Yankees had Joe Torre, Joe Girardi. Both of those guys, I think Torre was here for like 10 years. I think Joe was here for like 8 years, maybe 9, something like that. They both got like close to that. They got more than 8 years, let's say. I remember an interview where Brian Cashman said 2 years ago that he hopes Aaron Boone is here just as long as both the Joes were. So that, to me, signaled that no matter what the results on the field were, he was going to get an extension. But the way that the Yankees lost last year, the way that the Yankees went out in the rivalry, in Fenway, in a wild card game, that shit was embarrassing. Garrett Cole couldn't get through 3 innings. We were flat on our faces. I told people were like asking me about the Cowboys game. I'm more pissed off about the Yankees last game. I don't care about the Cowboys game even half as much as that. Like, how are we supposed to go? Okay, so you know what they told us? They said, okay, Aaron Boone is back, but you know what? He's going to have some different toys to play with. He's going to have some different players. Where they at? So my next question to you, Jack, is how do we expect to have different results when we're going to have the same manager and pretty much the same team that we had last year? And our manager got on the podium after the game and said, the league has closed the gap on us. What are you talking about, bro? Close the gap on us? We're about to be 4th place in the AL East. The Red Sox, the Blue Jays, and the Rays are all better than us right now. Their rosters are better than ours right now. It shouldn't be that way when you have Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, Joey Gallo, Gleyber Torres, Gary Sanchez, Garrett Cole, Aroldis Chapman. You have all of these superstars, but they underperform. They're lackadaisical. They make mistakes. They make the same stupid mistakes. They pout about it. They have throwing errors. They have mishaps. They have mental meltdowns. That falls on the manager. And we're rolling with the same manager who is the same voice, right? The Yankees have regressed from Joe Girardi getting us to a game away from the World Series in 2017 and them firing him because they were done with him no matter what. The magic carpet ride we took to Game 7 of the ALCS against those crooks who cheated us. Girardi overperformed. He took the team further with less. And then the Yankees said, okay, we're going to get a media guy in here like Aaron Boone, who's coming out of the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball booth. He's already great with the media. And we're going to get a guy like him that's just going to listen to what we tell him to do. And he's not going to overmanage. He's going to use analytics. He's going to take our advice on the lineups. Even if the Yankees roll out a different lineup every damn day, which gets me tight because every day I check the lineup excited for the game. And I'm like, Rougned Odor batting 4th. What the fuck is this? Tyler Wade again? Andrew Heaney? There's no way we're going to start Andrew Heaney again.
That brings back memories.
So, Jack, how are we going to get better when we're locked out and there's not going to be enough time to do business, to sign players, to make this roster better? It's going to be like this. Okay, you guys ready? And we're not going to have the time to get it done. And I just don't. I love the Yankees. I'm probably the most passionate about the Yankees. I'm afraid that this is going to come back to bite us. This whole lockout thing, right? The Yankees have the Mets to deal with right in town. What did the Mets do? Buy. Let me get everybody I can get. Let me go get a new GM. Let me go get Buck Showalter. We got Billy Epler. We got Buck Showalter. We got Max Scherzer. We got Sterling Marte. We got Mark Canha. We got Eduardo Escobar. Like, they went and grabbed a bunch of talented guys before the lockout. And they're adding them to Pete Alonso, to Francisco Lindor. They have guys, Jacob deGrom. Like, they have guys, and they took advantage of the time, and they're set up no matter what happens after this lockout. The Yankees kind of sat on their thumbs because they say Hal wanted to know what the deal was, right? He wants to know the rules of the game before he plays his hand. He needs to know what the luxury tax is going to be, and if there's going to be a universal DH, and if the players are going to get more money than whatever. I just think the Yankees are in a bad spot right now. And if this lockout ends, let's say the lockout ends March 15th, 2-3 weeks is not enough time for you to meet with players, meet with their agents, let them come around, wine and dine them, bring them to Yankee Stadium, send them a box like they sent Garoppolo. It's not enough time to figure it out. So I know that we're locked out and we're supposed to, like, not weird. I know that they're locked out and they're not supposed to be talking to players, but my hope is, like, I hope to God that, like, they are still doing it. Like,
They gotta be
I hope to
talking.
God that, like, Trevor Story is ready to go as soon as we can go. I hope there's a starting pitcher on the way. I hope there's some other reinforcements on the way, because we can't run it back with the same manager and the same team and expect different results. If you literally want to look at the Yankees year after year, we go from thinking we're going to a World Series to losing in the ALCS again, and then embarrassing ourselves in the 2020 60-game season we shouldn't even have played. And then just being early exits in the, like, it has not been the Yankee way. It has not been what I'm used to as a kid, man. Growing up watching the Yankees always win and always get it done. And it's frustrating because now I'm a grown man. I'm a grown up. Like, I grew up and I lived the dream. I grew up and I actually got into sports and got into sports media, where now, like, I'm going to get credentials to go to Yankee Stadium. I've paid for, I don't know if you can even see, like, up there's like one of my ticket boards. Dude, I have so many tickets from Yankee games. I've paid to go to Yankee games my entire life. Now I'm finally in the media and I can just waltz into the stadium and show my ID, and the Yankees are not going to be ready to play. And that's going to piss me off.
It's frustrating. And last season was so embarrassing. And what the Yankees did day in and day out, their organizational philosophy needs to change. They need to stop resting players. They need to stop babying players, because that's the only thing that's going to make a difference. Doesn't matter if we have a completely new lineup, we trade for Olsen, we sign Correa. Doesn't matter if we're still out there not playing Giancarlo Stanton in the outfield, resting players every fifth day, focusing on all
pitching
these
guys that you're not supposed to pitch. There's no reason that Nick Nelson should be starting a game. There's no reason that Asher Wojciechowski should be starting a game. Every game matters. And you know what? Sorry to cut you off, because, like, this stuff is like, I haven't been able to talk about the Yankees, and I've been keeping it in. I haven't really let it out on WFAN. I haven't been doing Pinstripe Strong yet, because I'm like, fellas, let's just wait till we, like, have something and we can hit it hard. But the Yankees piss me off because they always do the things that we don't want them to do. And then they expect different results.
And there's no way they can go into this 2022 season without making major organizational changes, just in the way they approach a season. And last season was a nightmare with Glaber and DJ, just nightmare season.
They always do what we don't want them to do, right? You mentioned Glaber. We knew Glaber wasn't a shortstop, bro. They didn't want to re-sign Didi. They were telling us Glaber's the shortstop of the future. We're like, we haven't really seen that, right? A shortstop, when you see a shortstop that's a good shortstop, Andrew Velasquez, we saw the difference right away. We're like, this guy can field. This guy can throw. This guy's on everything. Glaber, not so much.
And that wild card game, it just sucks that that's what we have to stew on. That's the last time we saw the Yankees. The last time the Yankees were on our televisions, we saw Garrett Cole get lit up in Fenway. We saw Giancarlo Stanton hit the freaking monster 3 times. And it's just frustrating because who knows, maybe if the Yankees took the regular season more carefully and tried more, that game would have been in the Bronx. And Giancarlo
exactly
had 3
Jack.
homers.
Every game matters.
Frustrating.
So you can't just pitch Andrew Heaney because you're trying to build his confidence and then blow a game, because the math says, right? And Joe's McFly says this all the time. Don't tell me that the games in April don't matter as much as the games in September, because the difference between hosting a wild card game at the end of the season is a couple games. If you win 2 more games, not even. In the last series, I was with Joe's. We were at the game Sunday, the last game to clinch to get in. We couldn't beat the Rays. The Rays had already won the division. They already knew where they were. We had a Friday night game that we should have won. If we would have won 2 out of 3, we would have hosted that wild card game. And then Giancarlo Stanton's hitting home runs out of Yankee Stadium and not into the Green Monster. And the Yankees act like they have the whole regular season, right? Oh, we'll just get hot. We're going to turn the corner. And when we start banging, that's what Aaron Boone will say.
We're going to flip the switch.
We'll flip the switch. Okay. They flipped the switch. They won 13 games in a row. And then they lost 8 games in a row and erased it. It's like, what are you doing?
The up and down nature of the Yankees in the shortened season and last year cannot continue. They have to go out, but not play everybody every day. I understand, resting guys in April, but they have to play hard and they have to go right out there and say, we're winning the division, right? We're not settling for a wild card game. We're winning the division. They got to be out there every day, play their best baseball. And that's the only thing that's going to change it. Like I said, we knew as fans, we knew Gleyber Torres is in a shortstop. As soon as we saw Andrew Heaney pitch a couple innings, we knew he sucked. Like, why are these Yankee fans coming to these conclusions? We knew that
Giancarlo Stanton was an MVP right fielder and didn't need to be clogging up the DH spot. We knew, and we knew that he could still field and run without getting hurt. You didn't have to baby him for so long. And then what happened? You put Giancarlo Stanton in the field, and something changes in him. He's better now because he's in the game and not just sitting on the bench with a bat like David Ortiz. He's not David Ortiz. He's a freak athlete. Put him into the game. Let him dive for a catch. Let him bang against the wall. Now when he comes up to the plate, he's lathered up. He's in the motions, like he's in the flow of the game. So he's coming up now after making a play in the outfield, and he's hitting bombs. What took so long to get that?
It's frustrating, and I don't know if it's the lack of a beard or what, but we see these guys come to the Yankees. Joey Gallo comes to the Yankees, just looks stiffer, just looks less athletic, just playing with less fun. Like, even Garrett Cole's been incredible, but he just doesn't.
He wasn't incredible down the
doesn't
stretch.
have the same. It doesn't seem.
Doesn't look like Houston Astros Garrett Cole.
He's Houston Astros Garrett Cole, and I just feel like players come to the Yankees and they automatically they feel less athletic. They're not playing the game with as much fire, and it's frustrating. But Keith, I appreciate you.
Power in pinstripes. There used to be power in putting on the pinstripe jersey. And every year that we regress, every year that we don't make it to the top of the mountain, every year that we don't compete and get back to the World Series, there's less power in it. We're more. I see the farewell captain behind you, the Jeter. Mm-hmm. I was in the fan cave that year. That was an amazing year, even though we didn't make the postseason. But think about how long ago we're going. That's 8 years. That's 8 seasons ago going into this season.
It's a long time. I can't remember a World Series. I don't remember 2009. There's a whole new generation of Yankee fans.
I'm sorry, man.
Don't remember.
Because I'm still holding on to 2009 because I was in college. It was a blast to throw parties and watch every game of that. And they beat the Phillies. So I went to school at Monmouth in New Jersey. There were Phillies fans that from South Jersey that were there and Yankees fans. And it was awesome to beat them. It was awesome to have a team stacked like that and win it. And that brings up a great point. That team knew they had to win, right? Because the boss went out there and got all those guys like AJ Burnett, CeCe Sabathia, Mark Teixeira, Nick Swisher. And then when you put them with Jeter, you put them with Posada, Mo, Pettit, these guys, when you put them with these guys, they know that there is no other option but to win the World Series, and the pedigree is set. And Derek Jeter would always basically lead the way. He was the captain, and he said, what did you win if you didn't win it all? These Yankees, I feel like these Yankees think they've already arrived. I felt like Gleyber Torres that way. Like Gleyber Torres, I'm seeing in an MLB Network ad. I'm seeing him in a Ethica ad, a JBL ad. I saw him at the Nets game courtside, and I'm like, they're thrusting him into the Derek Jeter position as the shortstop of the Yankees, and he hasn't done anything yet. And I feel like these guys just feel like because they're the Yankees, they're just going to show up and beat teams, and that time is done. That time is over. No one is afraid of the Yankees anymore. The rest of the league has closed the gap on the Yankees in the fact that they're not afraid of the Yankees and they want to beat the Yankees, and they can. But we struggle beating the Orioles. Like, come on, yo.
It's sad. I was at a couple of the Yankee Oriole games that Orioles embarrassed us, and it sucks. But hopefully next year we're gonna have hope. Hopefully we have wholesale changes in the lineup, and always gonna be excited for Yankees baseball whenever that comes. But Keith, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And Any last words before we hang it up?
Yeah, let me end on a positive note for the Yankees, my Yankees, your Yankees. Positive energy always wins. We do have a roster that is very talented. I think we could be going into this season with one of the best rotations we've had and compared to other seasons, right? Going into last season, we didn't know what Corey Kluber and Jamison Tyone were going to be. Seasons before that, there was just so many question marks of who was going to be in the rotation. We were figuring out the back end of the rotation in spring training. Now, if Garrett Cole can return to form, which I feel like Garrett Cole is such a competitor, he's spending every
100%.
single day of this
100%.
offseason trying to get better, trying to figure it out. The spider tag thing was rough. He got COVID and then he hurt his hamstring. Those three things factored into his lack of performance in the way that we expect to see him, but he's still an ace. He's going to be healthy. He can come back and be better. Luis Severino is supposed to be an ace too. And we saw flashes of it last year. He's stronger. He's working out. He's going to be better and come back. Jordan Montgomery had a solid year last year. He signed with Scott Boras. Scott Boras better not let him go anywhere else.
Yeah.
He's got to be a Yankee. Domingo Germán might be able to give us some good starts. Tyone is rehabbing, working to come back. Nestor Cortez Jr. is where I'll end. Nestor Cortez Jr. was the surprise of the season for me last year. I love that guy. Nestor Cortez Jr. night. I love going to the stadium when Nestor Cortez Jr. was playing, starting, pitching for us. I have optimism because I think we have more pitching going into this year than we've had. Obviously, our bullpen is going to be solid. We found some guys late in the year like Joely, Wandy. Why am I blanking? Oh, Clay Holmes. Why am I blanking on the bullpen? Like, I don't know all of these guys. I think we're going to be all right pitching-wise, and that's the whole thing. That's why I'm worried about them starting slow, because I want our pitchers to get a proper spring training. I want them to be ready to go for 162 games. We know we got guys that can mash in this lineup. And what I'll say lastly is it's still in Cash we trust. There are holes at shortstop and at first base, and they're going to fill them. They're not going to let us go into this season. So, I know a lot of people thought Matt Olson was the answer. Maybe it's Anthony Rizzo. Maybe Olson still gets traded here. Shortstop-wise, if it isn't Trevor Story, it ain't going to be Carlos Correa, y'all. I'm just breaking it to you now. It's too much money. It's too many years. We have shortstop prospects, and we're signing international shortstop prospects. Like, we have young shortstops that are coming up. Trevor Story would be the perfect stopgap. I don't know, maybe give him a 2-3 year prove-it deal, see how he does. He's also a guy that's athletic enough to move to third. And we'll see what happens with Gary and Higgy. That's our catcher situation. DJ LeMahieu is where I like to end. DJ is my guy, my MVP, your MVP, DJL MVP. He is the key. If DJ returns to literally being in the top of the MVP voting, the Yankees will be all right. And I feel like the fans are hurt over the way that last year ended against our rival, the team that we hate the most. And the team is going to carry that with a chip on their shoulder. Joey Gallo has been posting some stuff of him as a kid wearing Yankees gear. And I think he's going to work hard and he's going to be better after having a half season. Him starting the season with us and going through a full season with us, he's going to be better. Let's get the baseball unlock the baseball, and let's go Yanks. Thanks for having me on the pod, Jack. Appreciate you, man. Keep doing your thing. Keep working hard.
Yes, sir.
Keep evolving. Keep learning. Keep practicing and getting your reps. And you always have me as a contact and as a resource to reach out to. I'm retiring from guest spots on the pods. It's a Sunday, and I made the time because you're my man. You supported me, and I think you got a bright future ahead of you in the sports world. So keep at it, bro. Thanks for having me on, and I'll see you online. And make sure you call in the fan and hit me with some questions. Jack from DC, you're on the fan. We'll talk soon.
100% honored to be the last podcast, last guest spot you have. Excited for the Yankees in 2022. And that will do it for this episode of Chatted from the Cheap Seats. We'll see you guys next time.